the pandemic has had a big impact as well from where people work and things like that. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it was a shock to everyone's system, so we don't have to talk about that. But we've as a Lightyear and our previous product, which was called in bitbox, we were launched but way back in 2011. We've always had a really strong hospitality focus because we came from hospitality and we still operate hospitality venues, so we get hospo. And there have been traditionally, there's always been the paper shuffling that sort of comes with a hospitality venue, distinct points where deliveries are coming in, the loading dock, the seller, deliveries being couriered in, then you've got SaaS transactions being emailed in and things like that. And it's always been a thought, let's all gather that up into one place for processing. And people generally hit the print button to do that because a lot of paper invoices were coming in from different locations. And that caused a problem though when you were then trying to, for a general manager or an executive chef or whatever it is, getting those documents that previously maybe have been approved by a frontline chef, an operations manager, a marketing manager, and then running their eye over them for the second time.
Yep.
Clearly a problem if you couldn't get to the venue or you were being discouraged, to touch the same pieces of paper as everyone else. So it was certainly a shock to the system. The concept that Lightyear has had from day one, we always had this as our little mantra, but we broadcast it more during the pandemic, was if you start with paper, you end up with rubbish. You end up with rubbish processes, rubbish systems, rubbish data, and just rubbish. So the whole premise behind Lightyear is people will still send pieces of paper to the venue, and that's absolutely fine. And that's the sanity check. Nothing changes, but in parallel, they're just emailing their PDF, automating it from their system so that when the printed copy goes with the driver, that an email is also sent to your Lightyear account, and that's where we do the data extraction. So the paper now just becomes a sanity check for doing temperature checks or things like that, ticking off actually what you got. Yep. But rather than then being beholden to that piece of paper, I can do everything, basically on the computer. During the start of the pandemic, we pivoted quite a bit. We had a roadmap that was focused on procurement. And then after that, we were going to move on to mobile approvals. And we quickly flipped that around and we built the mobile approvals app first. So people could literally it's a bit like Tinder for bills, swipe right to approve, swipe left to decline a bill, add notes, assign it to a friend or things like that. So it changed our roadmap as a company as well. Yeah. But it also forced behavioral change in organizations where people were now saying, I can't get into approve. You got to scan that. And the guys are going, well, do I have to scan it? Because I've got a digital copy here. I could just email to you. And then people were like, hold on, there must be a better way to collate all of these different scans and digital copies. And thankfully, people started looking more than they had previously. Yep. And our name was popping up, which was good for us.
That's fantastic. I saw a classic example the other day from a large hotel, from a very well-known brand. It was scanned. It was a scanned purchase order that was sent to us actually for just on $200 that was actually signed by 3 different people. So I can just imagine, how many days it would have taken to actually pass that piece of paper around and, to get the general manager to do that final approval for $200. It just doesn't make sense, does it?
The cost of procuring, raising a purchase order or processing a bill is crazy. We still don't believe it, but it's validated data. It's guaranteed to be $30 on the way out for the purchase order and on the way back in. Some businesses are more. And funny, when we first launched the product 10 years ago, the original in bitbox, we originally said, right, let's not try and change people's processes. If people are used to raising something, putting it on someone's desk, that being signed and then move to another desk, let's allow people to replicate that process, but just do it digitally. It is strange how people will enforce a $200 bill to, negotiate heavily on the product that's being purchased for $200, but they're paying an extra $30 on the way out and an extra $30 on the way in. It's quite funny. Well, it's not funny, serious, but you know what I mean.
It's serious, and as you said, it's still paper based. So that there's the cost involved. It could be that it gets paid, it gets into the system twice. It's just fraught with danger, I think.
And it's also as well. And there's a very famous case. I won't mention the name of a hospitality group where bills were being entered into the system from a point of view of a piece of paper, and you were no idea about the source of truth. Where did this document come from? The bill was just being slipped into a pile, which was then being manually entered. So you actually don't have any source of truth to the, the source of the document. So fraud it's crazy in this regard.
That is very true. That's very true. And obviously, we're seeing a lot of the work from home. Obviously, if you're a frontline employee, you can't do that. But, I know general managers that will, from time to time, take the opportunity to work from home if they can. They may not even be feeling 100%, and they're like, well, I'm not going to go into the office or go into the property. So with Lightyear, that whole process for them to approve something, as you said, is completely digital now. It can go from the originator through to the financial controller, through to the general manager, and then be issued to the company that you want to purchase from, right? Really simply.
Exactly. And with Lightyear, we're not saying that a business such as a hotel would use Lightyear for all procurement, right? Because a lot of things that you order from, your consumables, beverages, things like that, a lot of those actually go through the portal of the supplier. So we're not saying change habits, but there's a lot of, let's call it ad hoc control that needs to be put in place. I need a repair done for this fridge. Let's raise a purchase order for the guy to come in and do that. Yeah. Entertainment, security, things like that. Stuff that doesn't necessarily have to go through, someone else's portal. But yeah, you can. It's almost like the gamification of purchasing an AP, where if you have your notifications turned on your phone and someone raises a purchase order and they want you to approve it, it goes bing bong, and you just swipe right to approve, and it's done. And that's the same with bills and credit notes and things on the way in. But yeah, it speeds up the process because you don't have to get to your desk or get to an email and print something out and scan it and send it back. It's the sort of little digital thumbprint that comes with it. So it certainly, it gives you a more robust approvals workflow, and it gives you more flexibility, because if a certain person is not available, you can easily go, well, okay, well, I can send it to their boss straight away because I know they're not available and I really need to get this process sped up. It's quite costly, that process, and certainly the flexibility to make it faster and therefore cheaper is appealing for sure.
Yeah, definitely.